Hey guys, waving hand, welcome back to Sleeping Stone Whispers, where history breathes softly and time flows like warm steam. Today, we're diving into the quiet, shadowy world of Victorian mourning rituals, from black silk veils and slow carriage rides to portraits of the departed and hush-filled mourning houses. If you've ever wondered how people in the Victorian era grieved with such ritual and care, this story is perfect for you. So grab a cozy blanket, settle in, and let's explore this calm, haunting chapter of history together. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to join our journey into the past. It really helps us create more relaxing historical stories for you. In the heart of Victorian England, grief was a language spoken as much through silence as through words. It was a quiet, deliberate world, where the rustle of black silk carried meaning, and every gesture, however small, reflected a family's sorrow. When a loved one passed, the household transformed. Windows were drawn, shutters closed, and a stillness settled over the rooms, as if the air itself had softened in mourning. In these moments, life outside continued its ordinary rhythm, but inside, time seemed to slow, bending gently around the memory of the departed. Women would dress in somber gowns of the deepest black, their faces framed by delicate veils that softened their features and muffled their expressions. The veils were not only a symbol of grief but also a tool of reflection, a way for the mourner to inhabit her sorrow privately, even in public spaces. Gentle fingers traced the edges of lace or satin as if seeking comfort in the familiar textures, and in the quiet of the drawing room, the fabric whispered softly with each measured movement. Men, too, wore black coats, waistcoats, and gloves, their attire a mirror of restrained emotion. Every thread of clothing, every fold and crease, was part of an unspoken ritual, signaling respect and devotion. The rituals extended beyond attire. Families would sit in dimly lit rooms, where candles flickered, casting long shadows over walls lined with portraits. The faces of ancestors and recently departed loved ones gazed down from their gilded frames, their eyes seeming to hold secrets of times long past. In corners, dried flowers were carefully arranged, their muted colors a gentle echo of life that had faded. The scent of lavender or rosemary lingered in the air, subtle yet persistent, creating an atmosphere of quiet reflection. It was in these small details, the placement of a flower, the adjustment of a cushion, the soft patter of fingers across a table, that mourning found its form. Carriages rolled slowly through the streets, their wheels turning with deliberate rhythm over cobblestones. Onlookers would step aside, speaking in hushed tones, aware that each procession was a carefully observed performance of grief. Inside, the mourners sat in silence, faces framed by veils, hands folded in laps or clutching delicate gloves. Conversations were minimal, and when they occurred, they were whispered, as if loud words might disturb the fragile balance between life and memory. The streets themselves seemed to respect this solemnity, the usual bustle softened by the presence of grief moving steadily, deliberately, through its veins. Yet, even within these rituals, there was a sense of intimacy and reflection. Mourning was not only about loss but about presence, an acknowledgement of love and memory that lingered in every shadow and corner. Families wrote letters, crafted small keepsakes, and sometimes gazed upon the faces of the departed captured in photographs. These images were more than memories, they were companions in the stillness, quiet witnesses to the passing days, and reminders that grief could be held gently, like a whispered lullaby, without overwhelming the living. In the hush of these rooms, with black silk veils rustling softly and candles flickering like distant stars, the Victorian mourner discovered a rhythm, a slow, steady cadence of sorrow, respect, and reflection. It was a quiet dance with loss, a space where grief was honored, and memory became a living, breathing presence. And in this deliberate stillness, the world outside seemed to fade, leaving only the delicate whispers of black silk and the gentle echo of hearts remembering those who had passed. Outside the quiet walls of the mourning house, the world carried on in its usual rhythm, yet the streets seemed to bend under the weight of sorrow. Victorian carriages moved with deliberate slowness, their polished wheels tracing soft patterns over cobblestones worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. The horses, draped in somber harnesses, carried their riders with quiet dignity, each clip-clop resonating like a heartbeat in the cool morning air. The townspeople, aware of the rituals unfolding, gave space and time, their voices softened, their steps careful not to disturb the procession of grief. The mourners themselves were a study in restraint. Faces veiled in black, hands folded or holding delicate gloves, they appeared as though they were part of the moving shadow, almost floating over the streets. Their eyes, when glimpsed beneath the fine lace, held reflections of memories and moments now vanished. Conversation was rare, replaced by a silence that spoke more than words ever could. Each movement, each breath, was measured, as though the act of living itself had been slowed to honor those who no longer walked beside them. Along the carriage path, houses stood silent and respectful. Windows shuttered, curtains drawn, as though the entire neighborhood had paused to witness the delicate ritual. Children peered quietly from behind doorways, eyes wide with curiosity and unspoken understanding. The slow rhythm of the procession, the soft murmur of wheels, the occasional flicker of a passing candlelight from within a home, created a gentle lull, a cadence that carried both mourners and observers through the landscape of sorrow. Mourning was not merely a private affair, it was a carefully choreographed performance of respect. Neighbors and friends might follow at a distance, hats held in quiet reverence, footsteps softened to near silence. Even the air seemed hushed, as if holding its breath, aware that grief was a fragile companion, one to be approached with gentleness and care. The smallest details, a nod of acknowledgement, the careful arrangement of a handkerchief, told stories of affection, sympathy, and shared loss. Yet beneath the stillness, life persisted. The black silk and somber faces did not erase the rhythms of daily existence. Shopkeepers opened their doors slowly, offering gentle nods to those passing by. The occasional carriage rattled a window shutter or disturbed the gravel underfoot, small reminders that the world outside grief continued its quiet course. And in this intersection of mourning and life, there was a delicate harmony, a recognition that sorrow could exist alongside continuity, each supporting the other in an unspoken balance. By the time the procession reached the cemetery gates, the soft autumn light had deepened, casting elongated shadows that stretched over tombstones and winding paths. The mourners disembarked with the same measured care they had displayed throughout their journey. Hands adjusted veils, gloves smoothed, and eyes lingered on the gentle slope of the grounds, each step a quiet acknowledgement of absence and memory. It was here, in the stillness of this sacred space, that grief found its most honest expression, unhurried, contemplative, and entirely present. In these slow-moving hours, beneath the rhythm of horse hooves and the whisper of silk, the Victorian mourning ritual revealed its subtle power. It was a dance of shadows and silence, where sorrow was both visible and invisible, spoken and unspoken, marking the boundaries between the living and the dead with gentle reverence. And as the day softened into evening, the carriage paths emptied, leaving behind only the lingering echo of respect, memory, and the quiet cadence of mourning. Inside the mourning house, time seemed to lose its shape. The ticking of the clock grew softer, almost hesitant, as if even the passage of minutes had learned to walk gently across the dimly lit rooms. Heavy curtains filtered the afternoon light into muted shades of gray and gold, while the faint scent of dried lavender drifted through the air, resting upon the black fabric that covered the furniture. The world outside felt far away here, distant, blurred, and unimportant. Within these walls, everything was slower, softer, quieter. The parlor, once bright with conversation and music, now spoke in whispers. The mirrors had been covered with dark cloth, reflecting nothing but the faint shimmer of candlelight. It was said that mirrors could trap the soul of the departed if left uncovered, and so they were veiled, just like the hearts of those who remained. In one corner stood a small table holding a framed portrait of the deceased, surrounded by pressed flowers and a single candle whose flame trembled gently each time the air shifted. The wax ran in thin, glistening trails, like the slow tears of the house itself. Every object seemed to have a memory. A shawl left over the back of a chair still carried the faintest trace of perfume. A book half open on the desk waited for a reader who would not return. The family moved carefully through the rooms, their steps soft, their gestures deliberate. Even the children, who might once have run laughing through the hall, now spoke in hushed tones, as though afraid their voices might disturb the peace of the departed. Meals were taken quietly, the clinking of spoons and cups barely audible beneath the murmur of soft conversation. There was comfort, however, in the rituals that filled the silence. The women arranged dried roses and lilies in tall vases, their hands gentle and precise. The men wrote letters of condolence, dipping pens slowly into inkpots, the scratch of the nib faint against the thick paper. And in the evenings, when the candles burned low and shadows stretched across the floors, someone would softly read a passage from the Bible or a favorite poem. Words of faith and remembrance flowed like a lullaby, carrying the household through the twilight hours. Beyond the window panes, the world moved in quiet sympathy. The wind pressed lightly against the shutters, rain whispered against the glass, and now and then, a distant carriage passed, its sound fading into the stillness. The city, it seemed, respected the grief held within this home, allowing it the dignity of solitude. In the heart of the night, when only the last candle still flickered, the house seemed to breathe in rhythm with its mourners. Shadows rested softly on the walls, the fragrance of flowers lingered in the air, and time itself grew weightless. Mourning, in the Victorian sense, was not a moment to be endured but a season to be lived through, a slow unfolding of sorrow that allowed love to be remembered with grace. And as sleep gently overtook the quiet household, the last flame dimmed, leaving only the soft whisper of black silk against the dark and the faint promise that even in mourning, beauty could still be found in stillness. The morning light crept softly across the cobblestones, pale and thin, like a veil stretched over the waking city. Outside the mourning house, a black carriage waited in silence. Its horses stood still, their breath rising gently in the cool air, while the driver adjusted the reins with slow, respectful movements. There was no hurry here, only patience, and the solemn rhythm of tradition. When the door finally opened, the family emerged dressed in deep shades of black. Their faces were hidden beneath lace veils, their steps measured and quiet. A neighbor bowed his head as they passed, removing his hat in wordless sympathy. The sound of shoes on stone was soft, deliberate, each step an echo of remembrance. As the carriage began to move, the street seemed to slow around it. Curtains parted gently from nearby windows, a few figures stood still on the corners, their eyes following the slow procession. The world seemed to hold its breath as the wheels turned, carrying both the living and their memories toward the quiet resting place beyond the town. Inside the carriage, no one spoke. A gloved hand rested on another, a gesture of comfort too fragile for words. The only sound was the steady rhythm of the horses, the creak of wood, and the faint flutter of veils in the breeze. Outside, the scent of damp earth and early flowers filled the air, reminders that even in mourning, the world continued to bloom. At the edge of the city, where the stone streets gave way to soft grass and quiet trees, the procession slowed to a final stop. The family stepped out, their eyes meeting the horizon where gray clouds drifted low. For a moment, everything felt suspended, the silence, the sorrow, the tenderness of goodbye. And then, as the first bell tolled from the distant chapel, the carriage stood empty, its purpose fulfilled. The path behind was quiet again, touched only by the fading echo of hooves and the faint impression of black wheels pressed into the earth. The streets beyond the city's edge held a gentle hush, as if the very stones remembered the weight of countless mourners who had passed before. Trees arched overhead, their leaves whispering softly in the wind, brushing lightly against one another like hushed conversations. The carriage moved steadily along the narrow paths, the sound of wheels against cobblestones measured, almost musical in its repetition. Occasionally, a passerby paused, acknowledging the solemn procession with a slow bow or a soft nod. Even the smallest gestures seemed amplified in this quiet world, a glove adjusted, a veil gently straightened, a hand resting lightly on another. Each motion, though subtle, carried the depth of memory, love, and respect that Victorian grief demanded. Houses along the route appeared dim and respectful. Curtains were drawn, but not entirely, small openings allowed eyes to peek from behind lace, silent witnesses to the ritual moving past. Flowers in window boxes tilted toward the carriage as though bowing in sympathy. Every shadow seemed to stretch longer than usual, catching the soft light of the morning sun and blending the present with echoes of the past. Inside the carriage, the atmosphere was hushed but intimate. Mourners sat close, feeling the warmth of each other's presence, yet keeping a respectful distance. Conversations were unnecessary, the silence itself was a companion. Outside, birds moved lazily through the trees, their wings beating quietly against the calm air, their soft songs swallowed by the greater stillness of the streets. By the time the carriage reached the cemetery gates, the world felt almost suspended. The air carried the faint scent of earth and early blooms, mixing with the subtle fragrance of black silk and pressed flowers. Mourners stepped lightly onto the gravel, each footfall a gentle acknowledgement of absence and memory. The streets they left behind remained quiet, the echo of their passage lingering only in the soft creak of wheels, the whisper of silk, and the faint rustle of leaves. And as the gates closed behind the carriage, the streets returned to their ordinary pace. Yet the calm, measured rhythm of grief lingered like a shadow, subtle and unhurried, a reminder that sorrow could move gently through the world without disturbing its delicate balance. The cemetery lay at the edge of town like a small, secret world. Soft grass stretched between weathered tombstones, and tall trees arched overhead, their branches swaying gently in the cool breeze. The air was heavy with the faint scent of earth and fallen leaves, and a gentle hush seemed to settle over the grounds, wrapping the mourners in a quiet, reflective calm. Gravel crunched softly beneath their steps as they moved along winding paths. Each stone marker told a story, its carved letters fading with time, yet holding the memory of lives long past. Families paused, gazing at familiar names, placing small bouquets of dried flowers, or pressing fingers lightly against cool stone. In this stillness, grief felt alive but gentle, like a soft melody that neither rushed nor lingered too heavily. The mourners adjusted their veils and gloves, careful not to disturb the delicate serenity of the place. A single candle flickered in a small lantern beside a grave, its light trembling against the shadows of trees. The quiet of the cemetery allowed reflection to take its natural pace. Words were few, whispers rare, for the act of being present carried more weight than anything spoken aloud. Occasionally, a crow would call from a distant branch, its voice swallowed immediately by the surrounding calm. Flowers pressed into vases seemed brighter against the subdued backdrop, and the faint rustle of leaves overhead created a gentle rhythm, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. Every step, every sigh of wind, blended into the soft cadence of mourning. Families lingered for a few moments longer, touching hands, offering silent prayers, and allowing themselves the intimacy of shared sorrow. Then, as they slowly turned to leave, their footsteps retraced the gentle paths, carrying the weight of memory back toward the carriage and home. The cemetery remained, serene and patient, holding stories and sorrow alike, a quiet witness to lives remembered and love quietly honored. In this slow, deliberate stillness, the mourners understood a truth central to Victorian grief, that sorrow, when approached gently and with care, could coexist with calm, and memory could live quietly alongside the living. The paths emptied, the gates closed, yet the gentle rhythm of loss lingered, leaving only the soft echo of black silk and the hushed, enduring quiet of the cemetery. Inside the Victorian mourning house, the world felt suspended, as if each room held its own slow heartbeat. Heavy drapes softened the sunlight, casting gentle shadows across polished floors and furniture draped in black cloth. The air was thick with the faint fragrance of dried flowers, lavender, rosemary, and the subtle sweetness of pressed roses, carrying memories as tangible as the fabric beneath a mourner's fingertips. The parlor, once vibrant with laughter and conversation, now existed in hushed tones. Candles flickered on tables, their flames stretching long, delicate shadows across walls lined with portraits of the departed. Each face seemed to watch over the room, silent witnesses to the rituals unfolding below. Families moved carefully, footsteps soft and measured, as if the house itself demanded a slower pace, where grief could be honored without disturbance. In corners, small arrangements of keepsakes were displayed, a folded handkerchief, a lock of hair, a worn book. These objects carried the presence of the loved ones who had passed, gentle reminders that memory could linger without overwhelming the living. Women adjusted their veils with delicate care, their fingers tracing the lace as if feeling for the heartbeat of a moment gone by. Men sat quietly, hands folded, eyes fixed on the smallest gestures of mourning that spoke louder than words ever could. Meals were taken in silence, the clink of silver against porcelain softened by cloth napkins and slower movements. Conversations were whispered, shared only when necessary, for the quiet itself was a companion, a steady rhythm in which grief could breathe. Children, though present, were taught the reverence of these spaces, learning that even in sorrow, there was a kind of beauty and order, a lesson in patience and reflection. As evening fell, candlelight deepened the shadows, and the house seemed to hum softly with the memory of those no longer present. Each room, each object, each gentle motion was part of a larger ritual, a deliberate choreography of remembrance. In these quiet spaces, Victorian grief became tangible yet gentle, offering a sanctuary where sorrow could be felt fully, without hurry, without distraction. And as night settled outside, the household embraced a slow calm. Shadows softened, fragrances lingered, and in the hush of the mourning house, memory and love remained intertwined, a quiet testament to the delicate, enduring presence of those who had passed. Within the walls of the mourning house, every action carried a quiet significance. Morning light filtered softly through the drawn curtains, illuminating small rituals performed with careful attention. Candles were lit at precise hours, their flames dancing gently, casting shadows that seemed to bow to the memories of those who had passed. Even the simplest gestures, a folded handkerchief, a carefully placed flower, held meaning, a subtle acknowledgement of loss and love. Women traced the edges of veils or adjusted delicate lace, their movements slow, almost ceremonial. They prepared letters or small keepsakes, pressing words onto paper with a weight that honored the absent. Men, sitting nearby, handled gloves or pens with equal reverence, each motion deliberate, respectful, a silent tribute to the departed. In this quiet, every act, no matter how minor, became part of a gentle choreography of grief. The air was filled with the soft scent of pressed flowers, mingling with the faint aroma of ink and paper. Families gathered in the parlor to read letters, recite prayers, or whisper names aloud, their voices subdued yet tender. Even the youngest children, taught the rhythm of mourning, participated with soft curiosity, placing a flower, straightening a cushion, or pausing to look at a photograph framed in solemn dignity. The house itself seemed to breathe with them, absorbing their sorrow and reflecting it back with calm patience. Meals, though simple, were shared quietly. Plates were set with care, silver polished, and the clinking of utensils softened against the tablecloth. Conversation was minimal, for words were secondary to presence. The true comfort lay in silent companionship, the knowledge that grief could be acknowledged without hurry, and that memory, preserved in gestures and objects, could remain alive within the house. As evening fell, candles flickered low, shadows lengthened across walls lined with portraits, and the room seemed to pulse gently with the weight of remembrance. Each gesture, each whisper, each careful placement of an object was a thread weaving together past and present, sorrow and love. In the hush of the mourning house, grief became a quiet rhythm, steady and unhurried. The rituals of remembrance allowed sorrow to settle softly into the days, creating a space where memory and affection could coexist, gentle, patient, and enduring. In a quiet corner of the mourning house, a small table held portraits of the departed, each face captured in solemn stillness. The photographs, carefully framed, seemed almost alive in their quiet dignity. Eyes gazed forward, lips closed in gentle repose, and for the living, these images became companions, silent witnesses to grief, memory, and love. Victorian families treated these portraits with delicate care. A soft cloth might brush the surface of glass, removing a layer of dust as if clearing the fog of absence. Candles were placed nearby, their flickering light bringing warmth and a subtle shimmer to the faces within the frames. Each image was more than a likeness, it was a vessel of remembrance, holding moments frozen in time while offering comfort to those still walking the rooms. Alongside the portraits, small keepsakes told quieter stories. Locks of hair, carefully braided or tied with ribbons, rested in velvet boxes. Letters penned in flowing script were folded and stored with care, their words breathing gently in the hush of the room. Pressed flowers lay flat and delicate, their colors muted but enduring, a subtle reminder that beauty could survive even in sorrow. Every object was a thread connecting the living to the departed, an invitation to linger in memory without being consumed by grief. The atmosphere was hushed yet intimate. Hands would occasionally hover over a frame, fingers tracing its edge, or a mourner might pause to adjust a candle so the light fell softly across a face. Children, observing quietly, learned to respect the gentle presence of these objects, understanding that even silence could speak volumes. At night, the room seemed to glow softly under candlelight. Shadows danced across walls lined with framed faces, creating an almost ethereal rhythm. The portraits, the hair, the letters, and flowers, all combined to form a quiet sanctuary. It was a space where sorrow could be acknowledged tenderly, where memories could breathe, and where the presence of those who had passed could remain palpable, gentle, and unhurried. In these moments, Victorian mourning revealed its deepest truth, that remembrance need not be loud or dramatic. It could exist in quiet gestures, in the careful keeping of objects, and in the lingering gaze upon portraits that held more than just likeness. They held love, respect, and the soft cadence of memory. In the quiet corners of Victorian homes, photography became a tender bridge between life and memory. Families commissioned portraits of the departed, careful to capture each detail with solemn respect. The subjects were arranged with deliberate stillness, their hands folded or resting lightly on a table, eyes gazing softly toward the camera. In those frozen moments, grief was given form, and remembrance was preserved in silver and paper. These portraits were often displayed in parlor rooms or placed on small, dedicated tables. Candles would burn nearby, their gentle flicker bringing warmth to otherwise somber images. The act of photographing a loved one was both a ritual and an art. It allowed families to confront absence while keeping the presence of their dear ones tangible. Each shadow, each carefully arranged fold of clothing, each soft gaze became a thread in a larger tapestry of memory. Alongside photographs, memorial art played a subtle yet significant role. Engravings, sketches, and painted portraits captured the essence of a life gently departed. Some families commissioned miniature paintings, delicate enough to be held in the hand, yet detailed enough to preserve the likeness and personality of the deceased. These objects became silent companions, reminders that love and memory could persist even in the absence of the living. The creation of these images was an intimate process. Sitting for a portrait, even after death, was approached with quiet reverence. Every gesture, the placement of hands, the angle of the head, the slight drape of fabric, was guided by thoughtfulness and care. Photographers understood that their work was not merely documentation, but a sacred act of remembrance. Each click of the shutter echoed softly, like a whispered prayer captured in light and shadow. In homes where these portraits were displayed, the atmosphere was calm and reflective. Families would pause to look upon the images, tracing delicate outlines with their eyes, sometimes placing a flower or candle nearby. Even in silence, the portraits spoke volumes of love, loss, and the gentle, enduring presence of those who had passed. And as evening fell, the flicker of candlelight over these still faces created a serene, almost ethereal rhythm. Memory lingered in soft shadows, grief moved gently through quiet rooms, and the Victorian mourner found solace in the delicate permanence of art, silent yet speaking, present yet forever a part of absence. In the quiet of the mourning parlor, portraits of the departed held a gentle, watchful presence. Families often paused in front of them, eyes tracing the subtle lines of a familiar face, lips curving slightly in memory, fingers lingering over a frame as if seeking connection. In these moments, the images became more than likenesses. They were companions, softly bridging the space between absence and remembrance. Candles flickered near the frames, casting gentle shadows that danced slowly across walls. The light shifted with each breath of air, creating the illusion of movement within the still faces. Some families would place small tokens beside the portraits, a pressed flower, a folded letter, or a favorite trinket. Each object added to the quiet narrative of love and memory, forming a delicate tableau that existed as much for reflection as for ritual. Quiet prayers were often whispered here, softly spoken or internalized, filling the room with a rhythm of gentle devotion. Hands might fold, a veil be adjusted, or a small sigh escape, lips barely moving. Even children, learning the patterns of mourning, could sense the weight of presence and absence, offering flowers or holding hands with careful respect. In this serene atmosphere, grief moved at its own pace, steady, patient, and unhurried. Some families would take a moment to write letters to the departed, addressed not for delivery but as a practice of remembrance. Words flowed slowly across paper, thoughts expressed softly, with the understanding that the act itself was a comfort. Each stroke of ink, each carefully chosen phrase, echoed the love that lingered in still rooms, creating a private rhythm of memory that could be revisited time and again. As the evening deepened, candlelight grew warmer, shadows stretching long across polished floors. Portraits and keepsakes seemed to glow softly in their gentle illumination, giving the room an ethereal calm. In these quiet rituals, the Victorian mourner found solace. Reflection and remembrance became intertwined, creating a space where sorrow could exist tenderly, without haste or disturbance. And as the house settled into night, with only the soft rustle of silk and the faint flicker of candlelight, grief itself seemed softened, an enduring, gentle presence. Memory lingered quietly in the stillness, offering comfort and calm, and allowing those left behind to live within the rhythm of remembrance, enveloped by shadows, light, and the tender echo of absence. In the stillness of the mourning house, portraits and photographs held a quiet authority. Each face captured in silver or paint became a silent witness, observing the living as they moved through rooms steeped in memory. The images were not merely decoration, they were companions, subtle reminders that those who had passed were still part of the daily rhythm of life, their presence felt in the hush of shadows and the flicker of candlelight. Families often lingered in front of these images, tracing the curves of familiar features with eyes or fingertips, imagining the warmth of a smile long gone. The act was slow, deliberate, almost ceremonial, a meditation on love and loss that allowed grief to exist without overwhelming the senses. Each photograph, each carefully painted portrait, became a repository of memory, a safe space where sorrow could be both acknowledged and softened. Alongside these visual keepsakes, other memorial objects, locks of hair, pressed flowers, letters, formed a quiet constellation of remembrance. They were arranged carefully, often in small alcoves or atop tables, creating scenes that reflected both personal affection and the Victorian belief in the sacredness of memory. Even the youngest observers could sense the reverence in these displays, learning that love could endure in silence and that grief, when tended gently, could coexist with the ordinary rhythms of life. The candlelight that shimmered across framed faces and delicate keepsakes seemed to animate them softly. Shadows swayed with the gentle flicker, making the images appear alive just for a moment. In this subtle movement, there was comfort, a reminder that memory was not fixed, but living, breathing quietly alongside the mourners who cared for it. As the evening deepened into night, the room settled into a rhythm of calm. Silence became a companion rather than an absence, and every careful gesture, placing a flower, adjusting a veil, lighting a candle, was a thread weaving together love, grief, and remembrance. Here, in the tender embrace of light and shadow, mourning was not just about loss. It was about sustaining connection, honoring presence, and allowing memory to linger gently, offering solace in the soft cadence of the household. And so, in the hush of the Victorian parlor, amid portraits and keepsakes, grief moved quietly, memory endured patiently, and the living found a gentle rhythm in which sorrow and love could coexist, softly, serenely, and unhurried. In Victorian society, grief was both private and public, carried delicately on the fabric of black silk and in the quiet murmur of prayer. Women draped themselves in long gowns and veils, the fine lace softening the features of faces etched with sorrow. The veil was more than decoration, it was a boundary between inner grief and the world beyond, a gentle curtain allowing the mourner to feel without being observed, to reflect without interruption. Even in public, the veil spoke volumes. Its weight and texture marked respect, signaling to neighbors and strangers alike the presence of loss. Men, too, adhered to strict codes, dark coats, polished shoes, gloved hands, all silent expressions of solemnity. Together, these outward signs formed a language of mourning, understood without words, guiding the living through the shared experience of absence. Within the quiet of the home, whispered prayers became a central rhythm. Voices softened to a murmur, syllables stretching gently, almost like a lullaby. Hands folded, heads bowed, and eyes closed in reverence, families sought comfort in the small rituals of devotion. Even children, taught the cadence of these moments, observed the hush and participated in minor gestures, a folded hand, a lowered gaze, a softly placed flower. The intertwining of prayer and presence created a space in which grief could breathe. Candles flickered against dark walls, casting long shadows that swayed with each movement. Every whisper was absorbed into the quiet, settling softly into corners and corners of the house, becoming part of the very air. In this gentle rhythm, sorrow was acknowledged without haste, and memory could live alongside the living. Outside, the world continued, yet those engaged in mourning carried a sense of serene isolation. Even in crowded streets or at public gatherings, the veil and the quiet prayers marked a slow, measured grace, allowing each mourner to navigate grief while remaining part of the social fabric. Etiquette guided them, but so did love, remembrance, and the tender understanding that sorrow need not be hurried. And in the hush of twilight, as candles burned low and veils brushed softly against the skin, mourning became a meditation, gentle, patient, and deliberate. Grief was honored, prayers whispered, and the delicate balance between public presence and private sorrow held with care, creating a space where memory and love lingered quietly, endlessly, and peacefully. Within the mourning house, grief found expression in the smallest of gestures. A mother might adjust a child's glove, her fingers lingering for a moment longer, as if passing on the calm strength of remembrance. A father would smooth the edges of a folded letter, inhaling the faint scent of ink and paper, remembering the voice of the one now gone. Every movement was measured, deliberate, an unspoken acknowledgement of love and loss. Families maintained quiet routines, allowing sorrow to be present without overwhelming daily life. Breakfasts were served with care, silver and porcelain placed gently on cloth-covered tables. Conversation was sparse, murmured only when necessary, each word chosen softly, deliberately. Even mundane tasks, tidying a room, straightening a veil, arranging flowers, became part of the ritual, small acts of respect and memory woven into the fabric of the household. Beyond the home, gestures continued with equal gentleness. Neighbors offered condolences with lowered eyes and quiet bows. The sight of black attire on a visitor spoke volumes, and handshakes were exchanged with the soft pressure of understanding. In this world of measured movements, grief became a shared language, spoken in subtle ways rather than loud declarations. Children learned these lessons early. They placed flowers near portraits, folded letters carefully, or simply remained still, absorbing the rhythm of sorrow through observation. Even without words, they understood that grief was not only about absence but about presence, the careful preservation of memory in small, tender acts. In the evenings, families gathered around the parlor table. Candles burned low, shadows danced lightly across walls, and whispered prayers accompanied the soft rustle of silk. Each gesture, touching a photograph, placing a flower, folding a letter, was part of a quiet ritual that connected the living with the departed. The room hummed with a gentle rhythm, a delicate balance of sorrow and care, reflection and remembrance. Through these small gestures, Victorian mourning became a slow, meditative practice. Grief was acknowledged, memory preserved, and love honored in silence. In the calm of candlelight and shadow, the household existed in a gentle space where sorrow could breathe, and every tender act served as both tribute and comfort. As evening descended, the mourning house settled into a hushed rhythm. Candles flickered softly, their light stretching long, gentle shadows across walls lined with portraits and delicate keepsakes. The faint scent of dried flowers mingled with the warmth of the hearth, creating an atmosphere both solemn and comforting. Every corner seemed to breathe slowly, echoing the quiet passage of time in a home devoted to remembrance. Families gathered in the parlor, hands folded, heads bowed, whispering prayers in soft, measured tones. The cadence was unhurried, almost like a lullaby, carrying sorrow into words and gestures that felt tangible yet gentle. Children, quietly observing, learned the tender balance of grief and comfort, understanding that remembrance could be an intimate, enduring presence. Some lingered near portraits, placing small tokens beside frames, a pressed flower, a folded letter, or a candle that would burn through the night. Every action, though simple, became part of a ritual that allowed grief to coexist with calm. In these moments, the house itself seemed alive, absorbing sorrow while offering solace, a quiet companion to those learning to navigate absence with care. Outside, the world dimmed into evening. The last light of day softened over cobblestone streets, and distant chimneys whispered smoke into the cool air. Within the house, the rustle of silk veils, the subtle shift of hands, and the flicker of candlelight created a gentle rhythm, a meditation on memory and love. Each motion, each whispered prayer, was part of a delicate balance between the presence of the departed and the lives of those who remained. As the night deepened, quiet settled like a soft blanket over the house. Shadows softened further, and the gentle flicker of candles mirrored the heartbeat of the household itself. Grief had found a place to breathe, steady, patient, and unhurried, woven into the very fabric of the rooms, the folds of clothing, and the careful arrangement of objects. In this gentle stillness, the Victorian mourner discovered the quiet endurance of memory. Nightfall did not erase sorrow, it allowed it to settle, to coexist with life, and to leave behind a calm, meditative space where love, remembrance, and quiet reflection could linger softly, serenely, and without haste. The carriage waited at the edge of the city, its polished black wheels resting quietly on the cobblestones. Horses stood patiently, their harnesses soft against the morning light, their breaths rising in gentle mist. Inside, mourners sat draped in black, veils shading their faces, hands folded or resting lightly on their laps. The journey ahead was slow, deliberate, a passage not just of distance but of reflection. As the carriage moved, the rhythm of the wheels against stone became almost hypnotic. Cobblestones echoed softly, matching the measured sway of the vehicle and the quiet breaths of those within. Outside, the streets thinned, houses gave way to fields, and the muted greens of distant trees rose along the horizon. The world felt suspended, as if it had softened to accommodate the deliberate pace of mourning. Along the way, neighbors paused to observe, removing hats and bowing heads in respect. Even passing animals seemed to slow their steps, as though sensing the hush carried by the carriage. Every detail, the soft flicker of sunlight through branches, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of a bird, added to a gentle cadence, carrying grief as a quiet companion rather than a burden. Inside the carriage, silence was a language. No words were needed, presence alone spoke volumes. Fingers brushed lightly across fabric, a hand rested briefly over another, and eyes met through lace veils with understanding. Each movement was deliberate, slow, a meditation on memory and love that the journey itself seemed to echo. The road led upward, over gentle hills and winding paths, until the distant cemetery appeared, a quiet sanctuary framed by trees and shaded by long, soft shadows. The carriage slowed further, and each turn of the wheel was mirrored by the slowing of time itself. Mourners felt the weight of absence, yes, but also the grace of ritual, the comfort of deliberate movement, and the gentle unfolding of sorrow into reflection. By the time the gates of the cemetery rose before them, the journey had transformed grief into something steady, almost tangible, a soft rhythm of remembrance that carried them from house to path, from presence to absence, and back into the calm embrace of memory. The carriage slowed as it approached the gates of the cemetery, the air thick with the faint scent of damp earth and early blooms. Gravel crunched softly beneath the wheels, and the soft rhythm of horses' hooves echoed gently in the hush of morning. Tall trees arched overhead, their leaves whispering in a light breeze, creating a quiet canopy that seemed to soften the edges of the world beyond. Mourners stepped carefully from the carriage, each movement deliberate and measured. Veils were adjusted, gloves smoothed, and hands folded with gentle precision. Every gesture spoke of respect, reverence, and the patient acknowledgement of absence. The cemetery, with its winding paths and weathered stones, welcomed them into a space where sorrow could be observed without rush and memory could breathe freely. Families moved slowly along the paths, pausing before each stone, tracing names with quiet fingertips or leaving small tokens, a pressed flower, a letter, a candle. Even children, taught the delicate rhythm of mourning, offered their own gestures of remembrance, understanding through observation that grief was both intimate and shared. The hush of the cemetery enveloped them, making each footstep, each sigh, and each whispered word part of a gentle ritual. In the distance, the freshly prepared plot awaited, surrounded by solemn markers and shaded by ancient trees. Shovels rested quietly nearby, and the faint scent of earth mingled with the soft aroma of flowers. No hurried movements disturbed the scene, every action unfolded slowly, as if time itself had learned to respect grief. Even the wind seemed softer here, bending around the mourners and carrying the faint rustle of leaves as a gentle accompaniment to their sorrow. Candles were lit, flickering in delicate rhythm with the hush of the morning, casting long, tender shadows across the ground. Every object, every motion, was a thread in the quiet tapestry of memory, honoring the departed while allowing the living to exist within a calm, deliberate pace of mourning. And as the family lingered in this serene space, the cemetery became more than a resting place, it became a sanctuary for reflection, a gentle reminder that sorrow, when observed with care and reverence, could be patient, meditative, and even comforting in its quiet presence. The family gathered around the freshly prepared grave, the earth soft beneath their feet and the canopy of trees swaying gently above. Candles flickered near the site, casting long, slow-moving shadows across the ground. The air was cool, tinged with the scent of soil and the faint sweetness of flowers, creating a calm, meditative atmosphere that seemed to hold both grief and comfort in its gentle rhythm. Each mourner approached with care. Hands rested briefly on the edges of the grave, a delicate touch that carried more weight than words could express. Veils shielded faces, yet eyes often lingered, tracing the space where the departed would rest. In silence, they acknowledged absence while preserving the presence of memory, a slow, deliberate act of love that honored both the dead and the living. Softly, flowers were placed upon the earth, one by one, petals brushing against the soil like whispered farewells. A letter, folded carefully, was laid nearby, a final note of remembrance and devotion. Even the youngest members of the family participated with gentle gestures, learning the quiet intimacy of grief and the tender patience required to navigate absence. Whispered prayers filled the air, almost imperceptible, stretching and softening into the calm of the morning. Each syllable was deliberate, a quiet offering to accompany the resting soul. The flicker of candlelight mirrored the rhythm of these prayers, shadows swaying gently as if bowing in quiet acknowledgement. Time seemed to slow, allowing the mourners to dwell fully in the presence of sorrow without haste or interruption. When the final moments came, the family stepped back, leaving the grave adorned with flowers and tokens of memory. The carriage waited nearby, its black wheels resting silently on the gravel. No words were necessary, the calm stillness carried the weight of goodbye and the gentle promise that memory would endure. The cemetery remained serene, holding the echoes of grief and love, a sanctuary for reflection long after the family departed. And as they slowly departed along the winding paths, the quiet of the cemetery followed them, leaving a soft impression on the heart. Mourning, in its most patient and deliberate form, had transformed sorrow into gentle remembrance, allowing the living to move forward while keeping love and memory woven delicately into the rhythm of daily life. The carriage rolled slowly along the winding path away from the cemetery, carrying the family back toward the quiet familiarity of home. The wheels pressed softly against the gravel, the gentle rhythm blending with the hushed breathing of horses and the muted sighs of the mourners. Outside, the landscape stretched wide and tranquil, fields bathed in the soft glow of afternoon light, trees casting long, gentle shadows that moved with the day. Inside, silence prevailed. Veils shaded downcast eyes, gloved hands rested lightly on laps, and small gestures, an adjusted handkerchief, a gentle touch on a shoulder, spoke volumes. Words were unnecessary, the rhythm of the carriage, the sway of the vehicle, and the calm presence of one another carried understanding and comfort. In this quiet, grief was not loud or abrupt, it was patient, meditative, moving slowly with each turn of the wheel. The family reflected inwardly, memories of the departed mingling with the serene landscape outside. Faces in portraits, tokens of remembrance, and the rituals of the cemetery lingered gently in the mind. Even the youngest, tucked under a mother's arm or quietly observing, absorbed the pace of sorrow and love, learning that grief could coexist with calm and that reflection could be as tender as affection. Along the way, the carriage passed familiar streets, yet they seemed softened, quieter than usual. A neighbor's slow nod, a glimpse of flowers in a window box, even the distant flutter of curtains, all became part of the gentle tapestry of return. The outside world continued, yet within the carriage, time felt suspended, allowing grief to breathe fully without hurry. By the time the house came into view, a sense of calm had settled over the family. The familiar door, the muted colors of the parlor, and the lingering fragrance of flowers welcomed them back into their private sanctuary. Here, sorrow could be honored slowly, memory could be revisited, and the rhythm of mourning could continue in the quiet spaces of home. Even as the day drew to a close, the gentle sway of the carriage ride, the soft reflections of the cemetery, and the intimacy of shared silence left a lasting impression. Grief, though profound, had been carried with care, transforming absence into something steady and gentle, allowing love and memory to continue their quiet, enduring presence within the heart of the household. The front door closed softly behind the family, the familiar creak muted by the hushed rhythm of the evening. The house, bathed in the gentle glow of fading daylight, welcomed them back into its quiet embrace. Shadows stretched along the walls, tracing familiar shapes and corners, while the subtle fragrance of dried flowers lingered, mingling with the faint scent of waxed floors and polished furniture. Inside, the atmosphere was serene. Veils were adjusted, gloves removed with care, and hands smoothed over cloth and table edges as if reintroducing themselves to the space they had temporarily left. Each gesture was deliberate, unhurried, and tender, preserving the quiet respect of the day's journey. Grief, though carried outside, now settled softly among familiar objects, portraits, keepsakes, and the delicate arrangement of flowers in vases. Families moved slowly through the rooms, pausing to light candles near portraits or to place small flowers beside photographs. Whispered prayers, soft and intimate, drifted through the parlor, a continuation of the rituals begun at the cemetery. Children, attentive and silent, imitated these motions gently, learning the rhythm of remembrance and the subtle power of reflection. Even in stillness, grief remained alive, its presence acknowledged in the careful choreography of small, thoughtful acts. Meals, when taken, were quiet affairs. The clink of porcelain and silver was muted by soft cloths, and conversation flowed only in murmurs, respectful of the solemnity lingering in the air. Every action, however mundane, was imbued with attention, preparing tea, arranging chairs, folding letters, turning ordinary routines into meditative gestures of care and memory. As the evening deepened, candlelight softened further, shadows swaying across walls lined with portraits of the departed. The house seemed to breathe along with its occupants, a gentle companion to grief and reflection alike. Every flicker, every rustle of silk, every muted sigh became part of the quiet rhythm that carried the family through sorrow without haste. In this hushed sanctuary, mourning became a tender practice, one in which love, memory, and presence intertwined. The journey of the day, the cemetery, the carriage, the quiet observations, found its continuation here, within walls that held both grief and comfort. And as night settled fully, the family remained enveloped in calm, allowing sorrow to exist alongside peace, patience, and gentle remembrance. As night deepened, the mourning house seemed to inhale softly, settling into a quiet rhythm all its own. Candles flickered low on tables and mantels, their warm glow brushing against portraits and keepsakes, casting gentle, dancing shadows along walls. The familiar stillness of the home embraced the family, offering calm after the measured movements of the day. Hands smoothed over cloth-covered furniture, veils were carefully folded and set aside, and soft footsteps moved slowly through the rooms. Even the smallest gestures, adjusting a candle, placing a flower near a photograph, closing a book, carried significance, each a quiet act of remembrance and reverence. The house itself seemed to respond, shadows shifting gently, and the faint scent of dried flowers lingering like a soft exhale. Families gathered briefly in the parlor, their voices hushed to whispers. Some offered prayers, their words stretching slowly, carrying both grief and affection. Others simply sat in still contemplation, eyes tracing the edges of portraits, or fingers resting lightly on the polished wood of tables and chairs. Silence was more than the absence of sound, it was a shared companion, guiding them through reflection with gentle patience. Children, weary from the day's slow rituals, observed quietly or nestled beside their parents, learning the rhythm of mourning through the measured pace of movement and the soft cadence of voices. Even in sleep, they absorbed the calm presence of grief tempered by care, discovering that sorrow could exist within serenity, and memory could endure in quiet spaces. As the last candles flickered low, the house seemed to breathe with a steady, meditative rhythm. Shadows stretched across walls, mingling with the soft light of the evening, and every object, from portraits to keepsakes, appeared to settle into its place, holding memory as much as form. Grief, though present, had softened into a patient companion, moving through rooms like a gentle tide. And when the family finally retired to their bedrooms, the house remained awake in quiet reflection. The stillness carried the echoes of love and remembrance, and the soft, deliberate rhythm of the day lingered, ensuring that sorrow, memory, and peace coexisted gently, serenely, and unhurried. In this calm, the Victorian mourning house offered not only shelter from the world but a sanctuary for the heart, a space where grief could rest alongside hope, and the quiet passage of night became a balm for the living. Even in mourning, life maintained a quiet rhythm of connection. Friends and relatives, aware of the careful etiquette surrounding grief, arrived in subdued silence, offering condolences with lowered eyes, soft voices, and deliberate gestures. Their presence was measured, respectful of sorrow, yet comforting in its gentle constancy. Each visit became a quiet exchange, a shared acknowledgement of absence and memory without the need for words. Letters arrived frequently, penned in flowing script, carefully folded and sealed with wax. Each word, deliberate and considered, carried warmth, sympathy, and shared understanding. Families read them slowly, savoring the cadence of sentences, the curves of inked letters, the subtle comfort that flowed from distant hands. Often, these letters were folded carefully and placed near portraits, becoming part of the ongoing rhythm of remembrance within the house. When visitors arrived, they were seated in the parlor, the room arranged to reflect solemnity and respect. Curtains were drawn gently, allowing muted sunlight to filter across tables, portraits, and keepsakes. Candles were lit if necessary, their soft glow lending a tender warmth to conversation. Words, when spoken, were hushed and deliberate. The gestures of handshakes, bows, and carefully placed flowers spoke as loudly as any syllable. Even the faint rustle of silk or the adjustment of gloves became part of the language of mourning, subtle yet deeply meaningful. Children observed these interactions quietly, absorbing the calm, deliberate ways adults expressed grief. They learned that connection, even in sorrow, could be tender, measured, and comforting. Through the exchange of letters, small gifts, and the presence of friends and relatives, the household felt both supported and anchored, surrounded by a soft network of understanding that acknowledged absence without intrusion. Evenings concluded with quiet reflection, letters placed near portraits, flowers adjusted, and candles left to burn low. The house settled once more into its familiar hush, shadows stretching long across floors and walls. In these gentle social rituals, grief was shared and softened, memory was honored, and the rhythm of life, though slowed by sorrow, continued with patience, reverence, and enduring calm. In the weeks following the funeral, life in the Victorian mourning house moved with a deliberate, measured pace. Days unfolded slowly, each moment carefully attended to, as if time itself had learned to bend in respect to sorrow. The household maintained routines that were gentle and unhurried, designed to honor memory while preserving a quiet rhythm for the living. Mornings began softly. Curtains were drawn to temper the light, and polished floors reflected the muted glow of dawn. Tea was prepared with quiet care, silver utensils set gently upon cloth-covered tables, and the hush of the house allowed thoughts to drift freely toward those who had passed. Even simple tasks, folding garments, arranging flowers, or tidying books, became acts of remembrance, small gestures that held significance beyond their practical purpose. Throughout the day, the family moved with deliberate intention. Women adjusted veils and lace, maintaining the outward signs of mourning, while men carried out duties with steady, calm movements. Children, taught the rhythm of grief, followed suit, performing small acts of care, placing flowers near portraits, assisting with letters, or simply remaining still in observation. The entire household existed within a quiet choreography, each movement both functional and meditative, preserving the presence of absence in every gesture. Meals were subdued, taken with careful attention. The clink of porcelain and silver was softened by cloth, conversation limited to murmurs, and every word seemed weighed with care. Even the smallest expression of love, an adjusted hand, a gentle touch, a whispered reminder, carried the weight of grief, threading sorrow seamlessly into the fabric of daily life. Outside, the world continued its brisk rhythm, yet within the mourning house, time moved differently. Days stretched into weeks, yet the calm pace allowed for reflection, memory, and gentle healing. Every morning, every meal, every gesture was an opportunity to honor the departed, to engage with sorrow deliberately, and to allow grief its patient space. And as evenings fell, shadows lengthened, candles flickered low, and the house embraced the hush of night once more. In the rhythm of these days, mourning became a steady, quiet companion, a soft presence that lingered without haste, a gentle reminder that love and memory could endure patiently, seamlessly, and serenely. Weeks had passed since the initial mourning, and the household began to turn its attention toward more enduring memorials. Portraits were carefully dusted, letters and keepsakes arranged with deliberate attention, and flowers placed thoughtfully in vases that had become familiar markers of love. Each object, each motion, was a small act of devotion, creating a lasting rhythm of remembrance within the home. Families reflected on the departed while performing these tasks, memories unfolding gently in their minds. The smallest gestures, smoothing a photograph, straightening a locket, or adjusting a candle, became meditative acts, tying present moments to the enduring presence of absence. In these quiet rituals, grief was not hurried or raw, it existed as a patient, steady companion, allowing both sorrow and love to coexist seamlessly. Long-term memorials required careful planning. Names were inscribed on tablets, flowers selected for their subtle fragrance and longevity, and keepsakes organized to create enduring displays. Even simple details, such as the arrangement of letters and photographs, were executed slowly, thoughtfully, as if each touch could preserve memory for the days and years ahead. In these acts, the living felt the continued presence of those who had passed, softened by the passage of time and the patient devotion of daily attention. Candles burned near portraits, their soft flicker a reminder that memory was alive and present. Shadows shifted slowly across walls, tracing shapes and forms in a gentle dance that echoed the rhythm of reflection. Children, watching quietly, learned that remembrance was more than mourning, it was a careful, deliberate cultivation of love, patience, and gentle reverence for the past. Even the act of cleaning and arranging the home became intertwined with reflection. The rustle of silk veils, the polishing of furniture, the careful placement of flowers, all formed a slow, soothing rhythm, a meditation on memory that extended beyond grief into the nurturing of enduring presence. In these final preparations, the Victorian household found comfort. Mourning became a delicate balance of reflection and devotion, memory and ritual, ensuring that absence was acknowledged tenderly, love was preserved patiently, and the quiet rhythm of life continued with calm, serene continuity. In the soft glow of the parlor, families gathered to revisit memories of those who had passed. Portraits and keepsakes stood quietly around them, and the faint flicker of candlelight cast long shadows that swayed gently across walls. Conversations were hushed, voices stretching slowly as stories unfolded, each word carrying the weight of love, remembrance, and gentle sorrow. Parents spoke softly of small habits and tender quirks, sharing tales that brought faint smiles to lips lined with grief. Children listened attentively, absorbing not only the events described but the tone, the pauses, and the reverence with which memory was spoken. Even the simplest story, a favorite walk, a beloved song, a quiet laugh, was an act of reflection, a way to keep presence alive within the calm rhythm of the household. Letters were occasionally read aloud, their careful script and flowing ink forming a quiet bridge between the living and the departed. Words stretched softly across the air, creating a meditative cadence, allowing grief to mingle with affection, and memory to linger without haste. Each story, each recollection, became a gentle ritual, a reaffirmation that absence did not erase love, and that memory could endure as a tender companion. The act of storytelling was often paired with small gestures. A hand might brush a photograph, a flower might be placed at the edge of a frame, or a candle's flame might be adjusted to illuminate a portrait just so. These motions, subtle and deliberate, transformed ordinary spaces into sacred ones, where reflection and remembrance moved at a slow, measured pace. Evenings passed in this quiet harmony. Shadows lengthened and softened, and the house seemed to breathe along with its occupants. In these moments, grief was steady, memory was present, and love remained tender, woven into the rhythm of stories, gestures, and shared silences. Through whispered stories and gentle recollections, the household found a meditative calm. Absence, though profound, was softened by deliberate reflection, and the departed lived on quietly in memory, in narrative, and in the careful, patient attention of those left behind. Grief, in its slow and enduring form, became a companion to daily life, a subtle, serene presence that lingered gently in the spaces between shadows and light. As the day drew to a close, the mourning house settled once more into its familiar quiet. Candles flickered softly on tables and mantels, casting gentle, swaying shadows across walls lined with portraits and keepsakes. The air was still, carrying the subtle scent of wax and dried flowers, a calm companion to the thoughts that lingered in each room. Families moved slowly through the house, attending to small details with deliberate care. Veils were adjusted or folded neatly, gloves set aside, and flowers arranged carefully beside photographs and letters. Every movement was gentle, measured, and purposeful, a meditative act that honored memory while preserving the serene rhythm of the household. Grief, though present, did not intrude, it existed as a steady, patient companion, woven into each gesture and shadow. Parents whispered reflections to one another, softly recalling moments from the past, the quiet quirks and tender habits of the departed. Children, observing or quietly participating, learned the rhythm of remembrance, understanding that grief was not only an emotion but a careful, enduring practice. The house itself seemed to breathe in response, absorbing sorrow while offering solace, a silent witness to the steady passage of reflection and memory. Candles burned lower as evening progressed, their soft glow highlighting portraits and keepsakes, creating a sanctuary of light and shadow. The hush of the house carried through hallways and corners, encouraging a meditative calm. Even mundane tasks, the polishing of a surface, the folding of letters, the smoothing of a tablecloth, became quiet rituals, each a way to honor absence and presence alike. Before retiring for the night, the family paused together in the parlor. Hands rested lightly on surfaces, eyes lingered on familiar faces and portraits, and whispers of prayers stretched softly into the quiet. In these moments, memory and reflection were inseparable, grief and love entwined in a slow, enduring rhythm. As the last candle flickered low, the house itself seemed to settle, embracing the calm of night. Shadows softened, the air carried the steady rhythm of gentle breathing, and every object, portraits, letters, keepsakes, and flowers, stood as a quiet witness to patient, deliberate mourning. In this gentle stillness, the household found closure for the day, carrying forward love, memory, and reflection with patience, serenity, and calm continuity. Weeks and months had passed, and the mourning household had settled into a quieter, steadier rhythm. Grief remained present, but it had softened into something more patient, more meditative, a steady undercurrent beneath the routines of daily life. Each day, the family moved through familiar motions with deliberate care, their actions carrying memory as gently as a candle carries light. Morning light filtered softly through curtained windows, illuminating portraits and keepsakes that had become part of the house's steady heartbeat. Tea was prepared, silver arranged, and flowers placed with careful attention, each gesture a silent acknowledgement that absence did not erase love. In this rhythm, sorrow and affection coexisted, interwoven delicately into the fabric of daily existence. Reflections deepened as the household revisited stories and memories. Parents recounted quiet moments and tender habits of those who had passed, children listened attentively, and letters were read once more, each word unfolding slowly in the hush of the parlor. In these deliberate acts, memory was preserved, grief acknowledged, and love reaffirmed. The house itself seemed to absorb these gestures, its walls holding the gentle cadence of reflection like a soft, enduring echo. Outside, the world moved at its usual pace, yet inside the home, time felt softened, slowed by deliberate attention to mourning and remembrance. Every object, the flicker of a candle, the placement of a flower, the careful arrangement of a letter, became part of a quiet meditation on life and loss. Even small, ordinary tasks were imbued with reflection, turning everyday moments into gentle rituals of care and memory. As evening approached, the household prepared for night with familiar, unhurried motions. Candles were lit, shadows swayed along the walls, and whispered prayers carried through the rooms. The house, now a steady companion to grief, seemed to breathe alongside its occupants. Absence was acknowledged, memory honored, and sorrow transformed into a patient, comforting presence. In this final phase, mourning was no longer only an acute ache but a quiet, reflective rhythm woven into life itself. Love endured, memory remained vivid, and the passage of time, slow, gentle, and unhurried, offered the household a serene understanding. Grief, when observed with care and tenderness, could exist alongside calm, reflection, and enduring peace. The household had grown accustomed to a rhythm where sorrow and serenity coexisted. Daily routines, once solemn and deliberate, now carried a sense of quiet stability, each act a gentle acknowledgement of memory preserved. Flowers were refreshed thoughtfully, letters revisited, and portraits dusted and admired, all gestures performed slowly, with care and reverence. Evening candles burned steadily, their warm light casting soft shadows that danced across walls lined with keepsakes. The house itself seemed to breathe alongside its occupants, absorbing grief and transforming it into a calm, meditative presence. In these gentle rituals, the family found that absence need not feel sharp or immediate, it could linger as a tender, enduring companion. Stories were retold quietly, softly, and deliberately, creating a living thread that connected past and present. Children learned to place flowers at the edges of portraits, fold letters neatly, or light candles in careful sequence. Through observation and participation, they absorbed the rhythm of remembrance, understanding that grief could coexist with calm, and memory could endure without urgency or interruption. Visitors came infrequently now, their steps hushed, their gestures understated. Condolences were expressed in soft tones, flowers offered with gentle care, and conversations limited to murmured reflections. These interactions, though sparse, reinforced the delicate balance of the household, grief acknowledged, memory honored, life proceeding at a patient, measured pace. Throughout the day, simple acts, polishing a table, arranging a vase, or adjusting a candle, became meditative gestures. The house absorbed the calm of these actions, transforming ordinary spaces into sanctuaries of reflection. Even routine chores carried weight, infused with the care and attention that elevated them from mundane tasks to deliberate acts of remembrance. As night fell, the family gathered briefly in the parlor, the flicker of candlelight illuminating portraits and keepsakes. Whispered prayers and quiet reflection marked the close of the day, reinforcing the household's gentle rhythm. Shadows lengthened, and the air held a steady hush, embracing the presence of memory alongside the calm of the evening. In this final stage of mourning, the household had learned the patience of sorrow, the endurance of love, and the gentle continuity of life. Grief remained, soft and meditative, a quiet companion to daily routines. Memory endured, deliberate and tender, carried in every gesture, every shadow, and every flicker of candlelight that illuminated the serene, enduring heartbeat of the Victorian mourning house. Night had fully settled over the mourning house, and the soft hush of darkness enveloped every room. Candles burned low, their gentle glow brushing portraits, letters, and flowers with a tender light. The air carried the faint scent of wax and dried petals, mingling with the quiet rhythm of the household as it prepared for rest. Families moved through the house slowly, each action deliberate and unhurried. Veils were lifted, gloves removed, and small gestures, adjusting a candle, placing a flower near a photograph, were performed with reverence. Even the ordinary act of walking from room to room became part of a meditative rhythm, a gentle reflection of memory and presence. Grief, though present, had softened into a patient, steady companion, allowing love and remembrance to coexist with calm. In the parlor, stories of the departed had been recounted one final time that evening. Parents whispered softly of tender habits, quiet moments, and fleeting laughter, while children listened, their eyes wide with understanding and gentle curiosity. Each word, each pause, carried a weight of care, ensuring that memory endured without rush or interruption. Letters were folded neatly and placed near portraits, and candles' flickering shadows swayed slowly across walls, marking the passage of the day with serene grace. The house itself seemed to exhale in the stillness. Shadows softened further, the warmth of candlelight lingered, and the faint rustle of fabric and papers became a soothing accompaniment to reflection. Even mundane gestures, polishing surfaces, arranging keepsakes, folding letters, had become quiet rituals, small acts that wove the rhythm of grief into the fabric of everyday life. As the family retired to their bedrooms, the hush of the house deepened. Each room carried the steady pulse of remembrance, grief tempered by patience, and memory preserved in quiet gestures. In this final, serene phase, mourning was not only an acknowledgement of absence but also a gentle acceptance, a tender coexistence of sorrow, love, and enduring reflection. Night embraced the household fully, and with it, the Victorian mourning house offered calm, quiet solace. Shadows lingered, candlelight faded slowly, and memory, soft and enduring, rested alongside the living. Grief had found a gentle home, love had taken its place within routine and reflection, and the household, at last, settled into a state of serene, patient acceptance, carrying memory forward into the soft rhythm of days yet to come.